Welcome everybody to episode 4 of the Money Minded podcast. Today's topic will be investing in your own business. This week we talk with a very close person to me, someone who I've known my entire life, my cousin Shyen. So Shyen has started a baking business called Strata in January 2019. She's had working experience working in the corporate life at Ernst & Young. Today she's going to share with us the challenges she's faced while working both a full-time job while running a business on the side. She's also going to share with us what her mentality is and even the profitability side of things. So without further ado, let's jump right into the podcast. Welcome Shyen to the Money Minded podcast, episode 4. Thankfully, it's been such a pleasure doing the previous episodes. Shyen, today, as many of you already know, Shyen, she's my cousin. She started a very interesting business. Why don't you speak about it for a bit, Shyen?
Hi Hwang. Yeah, so thanks for having me. So my little business is called Strata, and basically I sell homemade pastries, cookies, and anything that comes out of the oven. So a lot of it is inspired and taught to me by my aunts and basically family members. So selling little cookies that remind me of childhood. And I thought, when I came back after studying in the UK, why not, monetize this little passion while I find a job. So that's how it came about, and it is still something I'm doing right now.
So did it start off as like a serious business for you, or was it like a test run first? Like you just wanted to try baking and then selling, or were you like serious from the beginning?
Oh, honestly, it was just, let's just bake for fun. So honestly, we didn't think about money, profits, or revenue, costing. It was just, let's just bake and then sell it. And yeah, our pricing wasn't even, I don't think we even thought about how much to price it. It's more like, let's just try and cover our cost. Although we didn't even know what our cost was. We just eyeballed it.
So, it. So was there a possibility that you were like making a loss from just the baking?
Okay, I wouldn't say I was making a loss. Okay, I knew for a fact I wasn't making a loss. Because based on the ingredients I bought, I went out to buy my own ingredients, so I knew how much it was. So definitely not a loss, but I probably was breaking even for all you know.
So like agak lah, basically your pricing
strategy.
Yes,
agak, exactly.
Right. So like you mentioned before, right out of graduation, and then you just started doing your own thing. Yeah, I kind of get it as like kind of a hobby, but why didn't you consider jumping into a stable job straight away?
Good question. Actually, for me, I already planned to take a gap year right after graduation. So I knew after studying, I was gonna come back and then not go and jump into a job, like a corporate job straight away. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I was thinking of, traveling a bit here and there. It didn't really happen, so I was back here.
I wonder why.
Doing my sport and then baking at the same time. So, as you already know, I already like baking, like food and cooking. So it was just an extra extension, if you want to call it that, of what I already enjoyed doing. So, yeah.
So before we go into any further, like, what did you study in uni and which university did you attend?
Yep, so I studied at UCL in London and I did economics. So not baking, not culinary, for all of you guys wondering. So yeah, economics.
So you're basically what you studied, did anything come out from your studies that helps you run this business? Anything at all?
Okay, I wouldn't say a lot of it, but a lot of it would be, the stuff I took out of uni and applied to Strata would probably just be a little bit of supply and demand, knowing what people want. But yeah, that's about it. I don't think you even need to go to uni to open up a bakery business from home.
It's funny you mentioned like supply and demand, because like what was it that made you think that, oh, people want baked goods and I want to supply that baked goods to them?
Okay, so I guess, from the supply side, I was thinking, yeah, there are pineapple tarts, yeah, there are cookies. A lot of these things are quite common, right? But to me, I always thought our cookies that we made at home, or rather passed down from our aunties, were a bit more special. So Were they really available in the market? And when we gave them to friends, everyone was always like, oh, these cookies are addictive, and they're like, can't really find them elsewhere. So you already know, you have a niche like presence in the bakery market or industry, you can call it. So that one I knew. And demand as well, I guess, kind of came from the fact that it was kind of hard to find outside, in supermarkets or whatever.
Yeah, especially like quality baked goods, like the ones that you get at like Jaya Grocers. I don't really know whether we tend to buy cookies from there, but I just know that whenever Chinese New Year hits, it's most likely coming from some random auntie's house. That is like, the more broken down it looks, the better it is for some reason.
Exactly. It's always like, Chinese New Year, I don't know about Hari Raya Deepavali, but for us Chinese New Year, it's like you go to your aunties or like, that friend of a friend that somehow bakes, right? You don't go to like, I don't know, a supermarket and then say, I need this for Chinese New Year gift.
So I have a question. When you launched your business, right, I assume you launched it online, right? Because that is probably the most accessible platform, right? You can launch it through Instagram, most likely, right? How was the response of the public when you first released this Strata brand?
So when you're talking about Strata brand now, right? We're not like initially when I didn't have the full name. So previously, maybe a bit of background, I was just selling like, on Instagram, like, hey, I'm doing this. So no brand name.
Yeah.
But I guess we can talk about that side, okay, without the brand name first. So it was very much like, oh, you do cookies to sell? Honestly, people were just like, okay, not really receptive because I'm not really a brand, right? But yeah, close friends and people who knew about these cookies before, who have eaten it at home, or like cousins, they were like, oh, okay, I'll buy it now since that, you're making. Because previously people were a bit embarrassed, or like, not embarrassed, but a bit paiseh to like, hey, can you bake cookies for me? Whereas now that you put a price, they're like, okay, fine, I'm paying for something, I can order. Obviously not to the level of shops or like, people going crazy and getting orders like mad. But as soon as, word of mouth started going out, people started trying, then we got more traction. And then when we launched the actual brand name and created like the Instagram account, which was only recently, so in 2020, previously it was all just through our personal Instagram page. In 2020, says.com, I don't know if you've heard of it, but
What?
yeah,
Sorry, say that again. What.com?
says.com, SAYS.
No, what's that?
Little, like, it's almost like a Malaysian, Singaporean tabloid thing, news portal, where they write stuff that we can relate to. So they featured us on it for like top 10 places online you can get your Chinese New Year cookies from, and we came out like number 3 or something, and I didn't even know until my mom saw the post. So we got more traction from there, like externally, random people calling and like businesses even. So that was really when the whole bakery business started taking off.
So who was that person that put you on to that says.com? Do you know?
No, I mean, they didn't even reach out to us, which was actually quite like surprising. So we didn't actually read the article, we wouldn't know.
Right.
So like, they just wrote about us, and then like our picture was featured on their like main website. Like, before you click on the link, right, they will show a featured picture to click into it. So it was like the photo of the article almost. So yeah.
Okay, so how did it feel? How did it feel getting that first sale? Like, because when you're baking just for fun, right? When you're baking very casually, I'm sure there's almost no pressure behind it. But once you actually charge for money, right? Did you feel any sort of pressure? Was there any, like, did it go from a hobby to like, I need to maintain some kind of standard for the people who are paying?
Oh yeah, of course. That part was scary, I have to say. You have to always make sure your cookies or your tarts come out exactly the same. Each container has the same amount, the weights have to be the same, flavor has to be the same, all these things are a lot of things you overlook, I guess, when you're just doing it for fun at home, or the appearance of it, how burnt it is when it comes out of the oven. Everything has to be so consistent. And I think initially it was apparent because, for example, I'll give some like test batches to like friends and then ask for feedback, and they're like, oh yeah, the coloring of the cookies are a bit different, so like make sure that's consistent. So these are the things. Pressure, it has to taste good, and you have to make sure everything is clean. Previously we're just eating at home. We're just like, okay, this is what it is. Now it's like, you have to make sure everything is tip-top condition. Yeah.
So for the listeners out there, and I'm pretty sure, Shyen, you're too shy to admit this, but I've heard from, your sister, your mom, you're sort of a perfectionist when it comes to your baking. I've heard stories that you get like super stressed during the process of making what you make. What exactly goes through your mind?
Yes, actually you're not true. I mean, you're not true. You're not lying. That's the truth. But yeah, that is the truth. I'm a little stressed ball, so everything has to be done my way, right? Like a bit pedantic. So
Yeah.
what goes through my mind, did you say?
So why is it that you need things to be so up to standard? When I'm pretty sure when you've done things, you really know how it's gonna turn out because you've done it so many times. But you still strive for that perfect quality that you always strive for.
Oh yeah, okay. No, for me, I always believe there's a system in doing things, right? You do something, it works, you stick to it, and you continue. So as long as something is a bit different, I think the main problem comes when I have to start delegating, because previously I used to do it all on my own. Smaller batches, I can handle it. But when it started going crazy in terms of like the amount of cookies we had to churn out and stuff, obviously I needed help, right? So my sister, for example, I'll be like, okay, you need to do the egg wash, and like if they do it a bit differently, it kind of gets on my nerves because I know how it has to be done, and if you miss a little bit here, you don't get the crisp or like the golden golden char on the tarts. So yeah, I mean, like we said, it goes back to what Zen asked. It's all about like maintaining the consistency and the quality of what you actually put out.
Going back to a bit, you mentioned that you started Strata about January 2019, which means that Chinese New Year was right around the corner, right? Was that first Chinese New Year major for you?
Yeah, I think it was actually like one of the biggest, or rather a big turning point, right? Because that was where when I say we, it's like my mom, my sister, and I, because now we kind of work together. That's where we actually felt like, hey, this works. People want it. We may not be churning out cookies and tarts the whole year round, but during those occasions, people are actually asking, like, hey, are you doing it? And people are giving good feedback. So I think that was a really good point as well to give us like confidence, like, oh, okay, our cookies are actually good. Because previously, you just give them to friends, family. You would think like, okay, people will just tell you it's good. So the fact that you got external validation, I think that was important.
You do have a bit of experience working in the corporate world. I believe it was last year, right? So how would you compare working at that corporate level? By the way, for those of you who didn't know, Shyen used to be in the advisory role. Is it advisory?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Advisory
at EY, a major company here in Malaysia. So yeah, how do you compare working corporate versus having your own business to run?
Oh, wow, okay, that's a really big question. But firstly, I would say, obviously the big difference would be, you work at your own time, you do your own planning, and you answer to yourself, right? So previously, you have a boss who guides you. Now it's you running your own business and having to draw out, what you need to do every day. And like you said, I came out straight up university. So did I really know how to run a business? No. But did I know how to sell cookies and bake them? Probably yes. So, we're just trying to figure things out along the way and make things work. But I think that was the biggest difference, obviously, working your own time. But also one of it would be, I think, just having a lot of creativity, if you want to put it that way, in the corporate world. Things are set out in stone. You just follow and pretty much not question, why you do things. Whereas now, you're given the chance to try something new or, new products here and there. And also learn how to plan a lot of things. You realize that planning is so important. It's not just doing, right?
Time management, right?
The management. And I guess we take that for granted in the corporate world sometimes, your boss manages the team, the resourcing, the funding or whatever. Now it's like, hey, you have to do it, and whatever mistake you make, then,
You're talking about being your own boss, making your own time, and then the internet culture nowadays has really pushed that as something you want to strive for. right? There's a lot of influencers out there, a lot of entrepreneurs who are always pointing out the benefit of entrepreneurship, being be your own boss, set your own time, don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
Is it really sunshine and rainbows being your own boss? Is it really that amazing, right? Because you are responsible for yourself, right? And sometimes if you don't have the right attitude for it, right, you can't really be your own boss if you can't really tell what you have to do, right? If that makes sense.
Yep, agree. You know, self-discipline, I think, is a really big thing. And having able to plan, right, like what you want to do. Because you could easily just sit down and be like, you know what? Today I don't feel like baking. Or today I don't feel like doing this. Like, therefore, I'm just going to not do it. You know, and in the office, I guess you don't really have
You can't.
that option. But it's not always sunshine and rainbows and butterflies and whatever you think it is, you know. There's also, I'm sure Hwang knows, a lot of blood, sweat and tears.
A lot.
You know, when things don't work out, you know, it gets kind of lonely. You know, you're your own, you can call it your own boss. It depends how big your team is. In this point, at that point, it was like just 3 of us, my sister, my mom and I. And yeah, we fight for sure. And then it's just so hectic that just like, you know what, sometimes I just wish I had like a 9 to 5, someone told me what to do. You know, I walk in and I know what's done. Now it's like you are the one in a way, you know, drawing everything out and saying what has to be done. Yeah, it's not sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, a common symptom of entrepreneurship, I would say, yes, symptom, is that being your own boss, right? Sometimes it's hard to convey your vision to other people, and because of that, it's quite hard to get people to, like you said just now, do it in a way that meets your expectations. I'm sure you've experienced just nobody understands how you're feeling. Nobody understands what you need, what you want. You know the vision, but it's hard to articulate. How do you push through that? How do you try and keep pushing until you can produce the results yourself so that people can start to see what you are aiming for? How do you find like the drive and the discipline day to day, like you said, to get up, get off your feet and do it for yourself?
To be fair, I honestly enjoyed it so much. Like, I think I just love food so much that I'd rather just be in the food world than the corporate world. Like, I find it so therapeutic that, yeah, honestly, it wasn't even hard. I was so excited. I was telling Hwang, so excited. For almost like 2 months, I woke up every day at 8 o'clock doing the same damn thing every day. From 8 o'clock right up to like 11:30, 12 at night, because we have to clean as well. So yeah, I'm doing the same thing every day. And I was equally, if not more excited every day, because you know that with each day, you know, your things get better in the sense that you fix little problems here and there, like let's say flavor wise, or even just like making your whole baking process more efficient. Yeah, I think that in a way that helps me, because I know every day I'm doing something. Practice makes perfect, right? Eventually I will become almost like, you know, it becomes a monotonous, not monotonous, but like a automatic response.
Yep.
You know, when I'm baking. And yeah, I was time was flying so fast. Yeah, and I was honestly so happy, I swear. Like, way happier than working overtime at EY.
You mentioned that you were working with, you know, your mom and your sister. It can get stressful. And me personally, I always had the impression that working with your family members always leads to bad things. How do you get over like fights? Like, I mean, even after you guys fight it out or argue about it, you guys still at the end of the day are under the same roof. So how do you like smoothen things out after an argument?
I would like to think I'm actually not part of the argument usually. It's always, you know, my mom and my sister. I'm usually the fire extinguisher.
Are you sure about that?
I like it. I like to take things really lightly and laugh things off. I mean, yeah, I will fight, but I cannot be angry at someone for too long. So I usually just laugh it off, or like, you know, crack a joke and all is well. Or I'll just be reminding them, or be like, hey, you know, this is a little business, you know, you want your money, you better work for it. Or, you know, yeah, just a little joke, or tell them, you know, let's take a break,
So
get
like-
some fresh air and come back. Usually it works. So far it has worked, let me just say.
Do you think that your family has become closer after the whole strata business?
Yeah, actually, definitely. Because previously, when I used to do it with my mum, it was like a cute little bonding thing, right?
Yeah.
We do. So I always thought we hardly bake okay, because my mom doesn't like to bake. But every time we do bake, it's these same things like Chinese New Year cookies or like the strata things to sell. So I always saw it as like a little bonus, you know. It's like spending more time with my mom, and I'll come back late from work that time at EY at like 10 o'clock, let's say. I would bake until like 2 a.m. because I had to fulfill some orders. And I was still fine, you know, happy little bonding during Chinese New Year. It's like a cute festive thing to do as well.
Talking more about your business, your platform, what do you use mainly to get strata out there?
Instagram, I would say, like 90%. The rest would be a bit of WhatsApp, you know, with like friends, or actually I don't know if you want to call WhatsApp a marketing tool. It was
Sure.
more like
Why not?
people ordering stuff, right? WhatsApp. But mainly Instagram. Yeah, I would say Instagram.
How important was it? Okay, so what do you rely on when it came to marketing strata?
I think word of mouth. That one was definitely the most important, because I was a bit shy. Okay, let's put it that way. I was very shy putting my brand out there, and I always did it like, you know, in a very hidden way, or asked my sister to do it because I was so just shy to put my stuff out there, and people are gonna be like, oh, you bake, I want to try. And then I don't know, maybe I was just afraid of criticism. I have no clue. But yeah, it was mainly word of mouth, and we sold those little cookies to like friends. Then they would tell their friends. And yeah, it spread mainly like that at the start.
Instagram is such a strong tool, right? How long did it take for you to actually start to see your sales and your exposure ramp up? Because I think Instagram, once you hit a specific target zone, right? Once you hit a specific audience, there's a lot of potential, and it's free. The best part of Instagram is that it's free, right?
Agree. Yeah. I think because of the sis thing as well, right? Probably it was a bit like, you know, blurred. So we don't really know if it was just Instagram or sis, but it was maybe like less than a month for sure, you know?
Yes, a month.
Wow, 1 month.
Your cookies must be...
Yeah.
I've tried your cookies, Shyen, and they are top notch. One of your famous things is your pineapple tart, right? And that is perfection right there. Zen, you're missing out on life. Just saying.
Yeah,
Can you
Zen,
buy it
don't
for me?
worry. I'll make sure the next time I see you, I'll share with you some.
I can't even buy it for myself. Like I there was one time, like when she was baking a batch, I asked her to give me a bottle. She still hasn't given me a bottle. And I'm her cousin. I'm blood.
It's coming! It's coming, Wei Hwang! I swear
Quick
I
plug.
gave you know?
No, you didn't, man. You didn't. Trust. I would have destroyed it.
Man.
I would have
Okay,
destroyed it.
then that means I have to bake for you already. So I'll make sure I'll pass it to you the next time.
Where can people find or buy your products if they are interested to check it out?
Yeah, so the main place would be Instagram. So it's at strata.kl. So strata.kl.
And all the information can be found on your description, I assume?
Yeah, so the menu is there, you know. You can drop us a DM, or you can also click on the link, which would take you to a WhatsApp page, and then you can just WhatsApp us straight away with whatever you would like to eat.
Perfect. We'll also leave a link of Strata in the description down below. So if you guys are interested in her pineapple tarts, which I 100% recommend. This isn't even financial advice, right? This isn't financial advice? Yeah, buy it.
You laugh.
You gotta be careful sometimes.
It's a sort of investment too. It's a life investment for happiness.
Happiness, right? Utilities in economics terms. One major thing that I really wanted to know, how do you differentiate yourself? You know, because during the MCO, right, there were so many people starting their own bakery. I have a bunch of friends, actually, guys and girls, who started their own baking business, and they're all on Instagram. So how do you differentiate yourself, especially during the MCO period?
To be honest, I don't think I really like strive to be different, because I know pineapple tarts and, you know, these butter cookies out there. It was a bit hard. That was one of our biggest problems, you know. How do we make ourselves special? Like, what is special about it? But we realized that, yes, pineapple tarts are common, but in terms of like texture, flavor, it wasn't, right? So people came back to say like, hey, you know, a lot of the pineapple tarts we get outside were melt in your mouth, kind of. I always had a bit of like a little crunch at the top with the egg wash, and I don't know. I tried it with different ovens, I couldn't get it, but somehow with our oven, you get that little crunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the differentiating factor. People kept saying that crunch, right? And the other main ones were melting moments. I think those are quite hard to find. I don't know. I would describe them as an in between like shortbread, like English shortbread, and maybe some like almond cookie. I don't know. It's nice to
So,
say.
how long did it take for you to come up with that perfect recipe for your whatever it is, your pineapple tarts or your melting moments? Was there a lot of effort put into it?
It was, yeah, a bit of tweaking, but I wouldn't say much because, like I was saying, it was like a family recipe. Hwang would know our Auntie Shelley, Auntie Julie, they all,
Shout out
Auntie
to them.
Maylin are all these, kitchen wonder mums. So it was just a little bit of tweaking in terms of using my oven, how I wanted to achieve, for example, the pineapple tarts, that little crisp instead of melt in your mouth. And then the cookies were also, just tweaking little bits of the ingredients inside to get the balance. So I wouldn't say it was a huge experimental thing, but yeah, maybe, I don't know, you would say maybe a few months to perfect it to the T.
Was there a lot of ingredients used to perfect it?
Yes and no. Like, yes, for certain. Well, if you're talking about pineapple tarts, I think those were kind of hard. You have to find the right butter. I don't think people actually understand how important like the quality or like the brand you use affects your cookies. So finding out like which butter works, or like what type of jam, the balance in the jam, more sweet, more fiber, those kind of things, right? So it's not so much like how many ingredients, but I think it's like the type of ingredients you use.
So it sounds to me that you've put in a lot of sacrifice, a lot of effort to come up with that perfect recipe. Yes, I mean, you didn't, like the base recipe, the skeleton was there, but you put in a lot of effort to make it go that extra mile, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that sounds about right. To find that final, that yes, this tastes good. Not just, I'll eat again, but yeah, this tastes good.
When starting a business so young, what was psychologically the biggest factor of stress that comes into play?
I would say it was just, will people actually buy my things, Like you say, there's so many people out there selling things. What makes you think people will buy yours, right? I think that was my main concern. And I never really thought, like, yes, it was a hobby, but I never really thought I would make it into like a business and that people would come back. I don't know, I always have this fear that like, it's only me who enjoys my food. Maybe because, all my cousins, like living with Brian, just give me so much shit for saying, only you would eat this. So maybe, it was just ingrained in my mind that only I would eat such things. Yeah, I think that was the biggest worry. And also, I never really thought about like manpower or anything because I always thought it was going to be small. But yeah, I think it was mainly, will people come back? That was the biggest concern.
Great, and I mean, obviously it worked out, right? Strata has been doing very, very well from what I see.
Yeah.
So Strata has been doing so well up to the point, like you mentioned before, where your oven broke. Damn.
Oh yeah.
Like how busy was it in the kitchen that? What oven was it in the first place, and how did it break?
Yeah. Okay. So this was an oven that those inbuilt ones that you get. Not just those freestanding ones, but those inbuilt, proper like in between a commercial and like domestic use ones. So we're baking so long. Like I told you, we start at 8:00 in the morning until like I would say like 10:30, 11, right? And the oven would sometimes be turned on the whole damn day.
Sorry, so like 10:30, 11 p.m.?
Yes, p.m.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So that's a long time. And sometimes maybe we have a little downtime in between like lunch or something. But usually even during lunch, things are baking while we're there. While we're eating. Sorry. So yeah, it was crazy and it was so stressful. And the worst thing is it came like the busiest week we had during Chinese New Year. So if you look at our orders, so like we go by week, right? That week was the week right before Chinese New Year, and that's usually when people start sending out gifts. So we had like corporate gifts and like orders. It was just crazy. And then the oven broke down on I would say it was like a Saturday, and Chinese New Year was like on a Thursday. So you can imagine, as in like the following Thursday. So I literally cried, okay, because I had so many orders. I was so stressed. And I was like, holy shit, like, what are we going to do? My mom was like, you know what, I think you have to cancel your orders. There's no way, the oven can't work. And I was like, no, I can't, this is not happening.
So what do you
We
do?
woke up, we found out the oven, so the oven broke down at like 10 p.m. on a Saturday. So right when I finished the last batch of the day. And then I realized like, oh no, like the door can't open. It was mainly the door. So it was jammed. Like I can't even explain it to you. It sounds so dumb, right? So yes, I think we found out in the end it was because of the heat that caused like some metal part to expand and then something broke. So yeah, so it was 10 p.m. I was like, I have so many orders. So we woke up the next day at like 6:30. And I had to look for new ovens. I was like, you know what? I have to find a new oven. So we went to this bakery shop that I always go to, like HOI, House of Ingredients in Bandar Sri Damansara, right when it opened. I think it was like 8:30. And I had to buy this like commercial oven that could sit on the tabletop. And I tell you, it was the most stressful thing. Everyone thinks an oven is an oven, right? But man, it takes you so long to get used to an oven. I think it took us like at least 2 whole days to realize how to get the cookies and the tarts baked to how we wanted it. Even then, we couldn't get it to the same level of perfection, as you want to call it, to the old oven we had. So yeah, and it took double the amount of time. So you can imagine, previously we would bake them for like, say, 20 minutes in the old oven. This time it took 40 minutes in the new oven. So everything was upside down. We were working longer, and I was just, trying to keep it all in. But we made it, so that's the most important thing to take away.
Obviously, when you start to pick up some traction, you're gonna get more and more orders until you hit a point where there's only so much one person can do or a small team can do, right? So have you done any scaling? And how have you scaled your business up to meet all the new orders? Did you sort of, like you said, you got a new oven, but that was for a replacement, but were there any other things that you had to buy more of, or you got to plan better just to scale up your whole operations?
Oh yeah, so definitely. So my sister helped build this like whole planning Excel sheet, you can call it, right? So we put orders and it would tell us how many of the raw ingredients we need. Maybe it's like 100 kilos of flour or like 400 butters. Trust me, these are all real numbers I'm just putting out there that I didn't even realize, right? Per week, almost hundreds and hundreds of eggs, whatever. So that helped us a lot, so that I didn't have to go out and like keep running out to buy stupid little things because I didn't calculate it properly. Or even just getting her to plan, how long it takes to do a batch of this, and then how many batches we have to do in a day. So all these little things, like just managing the program for the day, you can call it, helped a lot. But also we got like another mixer, an extra mixer, so that I could be doing 2 things at once rather than just one mixer. And yeah, I think that was mainly it. And the oven could fit more, so we found out a way to, instead of just 3 trays going in, we found another way to fit 4 and find an efficient way to rotate things so that the timing and the baking was consistent.
So it seems like a little planning, a little Excel, it goes a long way when running an enterprise.
Yes, always plan. That was my mistake from the start. I didn't plan, and I was going to the shops like so many times in a week, uncalled for.
Talking about plan, right? Do you have any plans to go physical store?
It's an interesting question, man.
Very interesting question. So initially that was always my dream, right? I always wanted to have a cafe, sell my healthy food and some cookies here and there.
She eats like a rabbit, by the way, for the listeners out there. Like, you should see the things she eats. Rabbit food,
Nice.
Trust me.
That is mean. But health is wealth, guys, just saying. But a little cookie here and there won't kill ya.
Just about to say healthy food and cookies.
Right? I know it's like so against my mantra, but yin and yang, right? But no, I don't think in the near future I would open a physical store. If anything, I honestly enjoy baking from home. I think it's so convenient, you don't have to pay for rent. You operate out of your home. Nowadays, things are so convenient. You can send things by Grab, Express, Lala Move. You don't really need a store unless you say you want people to dine in. But I've also now got like a full-time job that I am thoroughly enjoying. So, the baking thing can be put on hold for now, I would say. For occasions, I don't mind. I'm still getting a bit of like Hari Raya orders here and there, but nothing crazy and nothing like it's not expanding or scaling up exponentially.
Yeah.
So is there a specific reason that you decided to jump back into the workforce rather than going all in into this baking business?
Actually, I never thought of going into this baking business to begin with. It was more like a little hobby that I thought, why not just try and make some money also so that, my dad doesn't say like, are you just staying at home? At least I made some money and then I could shut people up for a while, people outside as well. People are like, oh, what are you doing now? Just unemployed. I'm like, no, I'm actually baking and earning like 5 times more than I did at EY. But
what? Wait. We have to go back to that topic, but continue first. We have to talk about that in a bit.
But okay, so yeah, that's another thing we'll go back to. But yeah, so I always knew I wanted to go back into like the workforce. I guess you can call it the traditional workforce, but not where you're your own boss. I was just finding what I wanted at that point. So it was a little transition period, and I just did that baking thing while I found a job that I like.
Okay, at least you're using your time. Yeah. At least you're monetizing your time. That's great to hear.
Yeah, you're not stagnant, right? You're actually developing a skill. You have a plan and you're actually moving forward. When I was unemployed, I was just sitting around doing guy stuff.
Excuse me, you were looking at numbers and charts.
That was later. That was like way later. Like when I was unemployed, I was regressing. I was going backwards. I was getting dumber. I want to know, like, before we go into your earnings and everything, there was a period of time, and I think even still now, you were juggling between Strata and having a job. How difficult was that, and how did you cope with doing both?
Oh, yeah. So this was during my time at EY, right? So at that point, I would say maybe 6 months into working at EY when I properly started. Oh wait, when did I start at EY? Oh no, I was doing Strata first, then only EY came about. Yeah, sorry. It was actually pretty difficult when I started working because, we'd stay so long in the office. There was no time unless I did it, after 10 at night? Sometimes even later because we finished later. But yeah, it was hard because I couldn't really commit to a lot of things. Like, I couldn't say, yeah, next week I can get X amount of orders out because I didn't know how busy we would be. So I think that was the biggest challenge I faced. Not being able to plan. And then, for stuff like Raya and occasions, you need to already know, like, at least 2 weeks before, right? What you're going to put out so that you can prep all your containers, your marketing, your stickers, your labeling. So yeah, I think that was really hard. So I couldn't really go like full scale when I was working at EY. It was a lot of little orders here and there, and then only focusing. I think, yeah, Chinese New Year we did, but in between, I couldn't really do a lot.
So what time do you sleep? Just curious.
Oh, like when I was baking and working?
Yeah.
Like 2, 3 maybe? Like 2, I would say usually like 2. I come back around 10 something, maybe eat dinner, and like straight away bake for like 3 hours. And then shower, and yeah.
And then next day, wake up, EY time, probably 9 a.m. And then repeat, rinse and repeat.
Exactly. But like, don't forget, it wasn't every day, yeah. Like, it wasn't as hardcore as like what I was doing this Chinese New Year. So that one I could like space it out a bit. And yeah, so maybe every other day. Some days back to back, but not like, 2 months straight every day.
I still think it's tough. Me personally, I wouldn't be able to do it. I haven't tried, but I'm pretty sure my timing won't allow me to bake and work at EY, especially, it's tough. Back to the juicy question. You were earning 5 times more than you were working at EY. Like, what? How? Like, bring us through the numbers.
I was also wondering how, like, trust me, I was also shocked at the numbers because I usually try not to, like, think so much about the numbers and put that at the front. Obviously, yeah, you want to make sure you're making money, but to me, it was more like a passion first thing rather than a profit first thing. But then, like I said, we properly sat down and did our costing and our revenues, everything literally. So everything was in an Excel sheet, and then towards the end, I was like, oh, hey, like in 1 month, I actually made way more money than I worked at EY. But yeah, in the end, it was just a crazy amount that I never thought would happen. And because mainly I thought, in my head, I was like, I'm so small, how much can I actually earn, cookies and stuff. But then when you finally get to see the numbers, it makes you think, man, it's tempting, like, should I scale up? It also takes a lot of time and blood, sweat and tears. So I'm kind of happy where it went.
So it seems like there is a very common trait with all the people that we have been talking to, everything that we've been talking about, be it investing, be it trading, mining, now even baking, anything that we do, the most important part of everything we do is to focus on the process. So with Shyen here, for example, she enjoyed doing it, right? And then she monetized it. Instead of thinking of what she can make money from, she just did what she liked, and then she turned it into something that generates cash. Similar to all of the other podcasts that we've done so far, one common trait is that we all focus on the process, refining our process, focus on doing something that we actually enjoy doing rather than just chasing the dollar value. And I feel like that is always, always, always the case for anybody who finds any success in anything that they do.
And just to add on to that, there's always like this addictive trait when it comes to everyone that has been on the podcast. Like Shyen, for example, you're addicted to getting that perfect quality of pineapple tarts out. Zern, you're addicted to you and me. We're addicted to charts. We're addicted to seeing how our strategies play out. We're addicted to looking at our paper trades. We're looking at news. Izzuddin was addicted to always finding out what was the best crypto to mine, what is the best prices he can get for his GPUs and everything. So there's that addictive trait, and money is important, but if you want to be successful, you gotta be somewhat addicted to your process, I would say.
And I think with the variety of people that we've had on the podcast so far, I think it's safe to say that you can literally do anything and make money, right? You just have to find a way to enjoy doing it and then find a way to monetize it, because as long as you're providing a service or a product, there is definitely demand out there. You just have to go and get it. So Shyen, to all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there who want to start their business, or whoever who is in the baking scene as well, who want to start monetizing their hobby, what would be 3 strong advice you would tell them, or 3 strong advice that you would have told yourself 1 year ago before you started this business?
Okay, so here it goes. I guess the first main one for me, speaking from experience, is that you kind of have to have a clear plan, right? Where you want to go and what you want to do, what do you want to achieve. Not saying that plan has to be set in stone. Yes, it can change over time, but you kind of need to know what direction you want to head to. So, for example, you'd be like, oh, okay, I want to, sell a lot of cookies to the extent that I'm still operating from home, not in a shop, right? So you would know that there's a limit that you set for yourself, and a realistic one as well. Because yes, we want to dream big, but sometimes, you gotta be realistic with how big your dreams are, and then you chase it. So that's my first one: plan and know where you want to head. Know your goals. The second one would be to really just enjoy what you do. Yes, there'll be ups and downs, as with anything in life, but I always tell this to myself, like, there's no magic without mess, right? So you kind of have to go through a lot of, mind my French, a lot of shit here and there, to finally get to the point that you are happy. So yeah, just be prepared for bad days, but also know that there will be some good days. Yeah, so that's my second advice. The third one would be to not be afraid and also, just go out and try something. I'm assuming we're young. There's nothing really stopping us in that sense to try. If it fails, you would know, right? So have a stop loss, almost like trading. You set this little be disciplined, right? If it fails too much or like beyond a certain date, then you're like, okay, I have to stop, right, and find something else. So it's like risk mitigation, you want to call it that. I think that's really important as well.
I think that a lot of times when we graduate uni, the first thing we want to do is play it safe, right? But for me personally, I think this is the best time for us to fail. And I mean, going through what I've read, so, I mean, when you read books of entrepreneurs, they always tell you along the same thing, like fail, try again, fail until you succeed. So just to wrap up your 3 key things, right? So number 1, have a plan, know your direction if you want to start a business. Number 2, enjoy your process, enjoy your work, because if you don't enjoy it, you're probably not going to continue, or you're not going to be so dedicated about it. And number 3, like we just said, we are young, take the risk, but as much as we can handle, of course. We can sort of afford to fail, we can have time, our careers can sort of be put on hold. Thank you very much, Shyen, for joining us on the Money Minded podcast. This was great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was a really fun chat. Thanks.
Alright, so anything you want to say before we head out? Anything you can say about your company or whatever? Any messages?
If you feel like you need some lockdown snacks, do check us out. But other than that, I hope everyone is staying well, staying safe, and hopefully, getting vaccinated if you are okay with that. But if you're not okay with that, don't feel pressured. Do what's comfortable. Peer pressure is not a thing. But yes, just think right and stay safe, and hopefully all this will be over and we can enjoy our lives.
Pineapple tarts. I'm still waiting for mine, by the way. Thank you.
Oh yes, okay. It's coming.
So, hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys learned something new, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Money Minded.